Here is the first slide of fourth part, Hunger, Hardship and Popular Revolt. In 1830s were the years of great economic hardship in Europe. The first half of the 19th century saw an economic increase in population, enormous increase in population all over Europe. In most countries, there were more seekers of job than employment. Population from rural areas migrated to the cities to live in overcrowded slums. Small producers in towns were often forced with stiff competition from imports and cheap machines made goods from England, where industrialization was more advanced than on the continent. So it was a time where the population was increasing, and because of that there was no the employment could not pace up with the rising population. With this, many difficulties was being faced by the common people. There was a severe stiff competition, we can say, that was being faced by the local traders, and because of that the hardship that they faced during these years. This was especially so in textile production, which was carried out mainly in homes or small workers and was only partly mechanized. In those regions of Europe where the aristocracy still enjoyed power, peasants struggled under the burden of feudal dues and obligations. The rise of food prices or a year of bad harvest led to the widespread pauperism in towns and countries. So the people somewhere they got we can say restless because of this unexpected condition that has been emerged. Economically they were been severely hit, and there was no other option but to start a revolution against the government. The year of 1848 was one such year. Food shortage and widespread unemployment brought the population of Paris out of the roads. Barricades were erected and Louis Philippe was forced to flee. A National Assembly proclaimed a republic, granted suffrage to all adult male above 21 and guaranteed the right to work. National workshops to provide employment were set up. Earlier in 1845, weavers in Sicilia had been revolt against contractors who supplied them raw materials and gave them orders for finished textiles but drastically reduced their payments. The journalist Wayne Wolf described the events in Sicilian's village as follows words: in these villages, cotton weavers is the most widespread occupation. The misery of the workers is extreme. 1848, the revolution of the liberals. So parallel to the revolt of the poor, unemployment and starving peasants, the worker in many European countries in the late 1840s, revolutionized by the educated middle class, were underway. Events of February 1848 in France had brought about the abdication of the monarch, and a republic based on universal male suffrage had been proclaimed. In other parts of Europe, where independent nation states did not yet exist, such as Germany, Italy, Poland and Austria-Hungary Empire, men and women of the liberal middle classes combined their demands for constitutionalism, of national unification. They took advantage of the growing popular unrest to push their demands for the creation of nation states on parliamentary principles, a constitution, freedom of the press and freedom of association. So new kinds of protests that has been started. The liberals also, they have started their revolt side by side. It was in the previous slide that we have seen how the poor peoples and unemployed youth, the peasants, they have revolted. In their revolt, the liberals, they have added their revolts to make it a bigger one, and the impact will be huge. So side by side they have also demanded a separate nation. They have demanded a new constitution where the freedom of press and freedom of association would be given. In the German regions, a large number of political associations were the members of middle class, professionals, business. So these are the we can say the members, we can say the large number political associations, political groups, right? The members were from the aristocratic peoples, from the professionals, businessmen, right? So these people, they joined together and formed many of the political parties. On 18th May 1848, 831 elected representatives marched in the legislative procession to take their place in the Frankfurt Parliament, converted into the Church of St. Paul's. They drafted a constitution for the German nation to be headed by the monarchy, subject to a parliament. So in this way, there are so many things, right? So in this way, the people, they protested and they restored their power. While the opposition of the aristocracy was military became stronger, the social basis of parliament eroded. The parliament was dominated by the middle classes, who resisted the demand of workers, and artisans consequently lost their support. In the end, troops were called in and the assembly were forced to disband. So the aristocratic people, so the rich people, those who were there in the assemblies, they did not listen to the poor peoples, and the issues of extending political rights of women were controversy alone within the liberal movement. So liberals, we all know that they did not supported women political right, but now it becomes an issue in which the large number of women had participated actively over the years. Women had formed their own political association, founded newspapers, and taken part in political meetings and demonstrations. Despite this, they were denied suffrage rights during the election of the assembly. When the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the Church of St. Paul, women were admitted only as observers to stand in the visitors gallery. So that was a condition. So that was a condition of the women. They were not getting the right to vote. Through conservative forces were able to suppress liberal movements in 1848. They could not restore the old order. Monarchs were beginning to realize that the cycles of revolution and repression could only be ended by granting concession to the liberal nationalist revolutionary. Hence, in the year after 1848, the autocratic monarchies of Central and Eastern Europe began to introduce the changes that had already taken place in Western Europe before 1815. Thus, serfdom and bonded labor were abolished both in Habsburg domination and the Russia. The Habsburg ruler granted above autonomy to the Hungarians in 1867. So this is a picture of revolution at the time. We can say increased nationalist tensions when the whole thing was all started. It was just a picture, and this is just for the reference. We're going to start our next part. Till then, thank you very much.